If you struggle to finish your beats, it's probably not for the reason you think. Most producers blame arrangement. They think they need to learn more arrangement tips and tricks, but that's not actually what your beat's missing. Today, I'm going to show you 3 mistakes that might be causing you to get stuck. And the frameworks to fix these mistakes have already helped producers just like you go from struggling to finish 1 or 2 beats to completing almost every beat they start. So to explain what the actual problem is, let me start by asking you a question. Let's say you just bought a brand new video game. You're excited, you install it, and you play for a few hours, and then, boom, your computer crashes. So what caused this problem? Obviously, you would blame the brand new video game, right? But here's the thing. For years and years, you've also been clicking on every one of those meet single moms in your area ads. So your computer's now filled with viruses before you even install this game. So the question is, what really caused your computer to crash? It's not the new game that you just added, it's your pervy antics from way before this. And you can look at your beat the same way. The problem probably isn't what you're trying to add into the beat, it might be what's already there. And to show you this, I'm going to use a beat that was sent to me by Pablo, one of the producers on my mailing list. He was struggling to finish this beat because he couldn't figure out how to add more. So let me show you a few problems that might already be in the beat that's getting in his way, and the solutions that you can apply to your own beats if you also run into this problem. And by the way, if you want your beat fixed in a video, just join my mailing list by clicking the description box below and selecting the free resources option. I'll send you a bunch of free stuff that will help you with your beats and also add you to my email list for the next time I make one of these videos. Alright, so let's start with problem number 1. I'm going to play this beat here for you, and I want you to focus on the instrument in the sample. Alright, now I'm going to replace that sound with a different one, and you can tell me whether the beat feels more or less open. So here, even though the exact same notes and pattern is playing, the second version feels more open. You can even see this visually. This new pattern has bigger gaps in between the notes and more empty space overall. And this is one concept that producers don't usually think about, how the shapes of your sounds affect your ability to finish your beats. Yes, using more dense sounds and samples like this can be a great way of getting your loop to sound much more full, much faster. But this might also be the reason why you struggle to create variation afterwards, because your entire beat is made up of only 1 or 2 sounds. And therefore you only have a few sounds to make variation with, plus little room left to add more. And that's problem number 1. Be careful with starting big. Now, I'm not saying to never use big dense sounds, obviously, that would be bad advice. But just understand the trade-off. By making your life easier up front and using these big sounds when you just start your beat, you might also be making your life harder later on when you need to turn that loop into a full beat. And so instead, by building your loop using more small ideas, you can give yourself a lot more flexibility and material to work with. Moving on to problem number 2. Now, while I was trying to build my own patterns with this beat idea, even I was struggling. It felt like no matter what I tried, nothing worked. But then I realized exactly what the issue was. So let's first start out by figuring out what notes to actually use before we build our own pattern into this beat. To do this, I'm going to run the sample that was used in this beat through a note detector tool like so. And as you can see, this is telling us that the very first note in the sample is an A sharp. And we get the same thing if we tried using an automatic audio to MIDI converter, whether it's a stock tool or a paid one. As you can see, if I do this, it also tells me the very first note here is an A sharp again. And yet, if I play an A sharp along with the sample, it sounds off. And this might be yet another problem that you have in your beat that you don't know about and why adding anything feels impossible. So here's why this is happening. If I use Note Grabber, which is my own plugin that shows you the actual notes inside of your sample with much more accuracy, take a look at what this is telling me. We do have what appears to be a note near A sharp down here, just like all the other tools told me. But if I were to draw in an actual A sharp note, take a look. The note that's in the sample is actually slightly below an A sharp. So you might be thinking, well, that obviously means that we have an A then. But if we drag this note down to an A, the note in the sample is now slightly above it. And this is what's causing this problem. What this is telling us is the instrument from the sample is not fully tuned. It's sitting far away from a full semitone, and this is why nothing sounds right when I try to play anything alongside the sample. So to fix this, we can do either one of two things here. You can either tune your sample to the point where the notes are fully on key. You can see now the note in the sample fully lines up. Or you could just choose to make your entire beat out of key, meaning you would take all the sounds and instruments that you would eventually add and make them equally off key as your sample. That way, whatever you add will work with your sample. Both of these methods are completely viable and up to you and whatever you want to do. So that's issue number 2, know your sample. Now let's move on to number 3. If you struggle to add more into your beat, it might come down to one little number inside of your DAW, your BPM. Now you might be wondering how. Well, when it comes to BPM, think about it like this. Let's say your beat is this cup of water. As you can see, the cup is near full, but what would happen if I put this exact same amount of water into a much wider cup? As you can see, this cup looks much less full, even though the exact same amount of water is in it. So how does this relate to your beats? Well, the BPM that you choose is like how wide your cup is. The slower your BPM, the more space the beat has, so it will start to feel less full, even if it's the exact same amount of ideas and sounds and patterns in it. Therefore, if you're ever struggling to find space to add that new sound in or to build that new pattern in, this could be the problem. Maybe you chose slightly too fast of a BPM for your beat. And by just slowing down the BPM, you can hear the beat feels slower, but also more open. And this can be enough material to make changes and add new sounds and patterns for your full arrangement. But those are just 3 examples of what could be going wrong in your beat. There are other mistakes that could be happening, which I made a full video about right next to me. So if you found this video helpful, the one right next to me will also help you out. So click it and watch your beats become great before your eyes. So yeah, click the video.